Students, hope all you are well. This is Mrityunjay. Today I will discuss about the chapter The Delhi Sultanate. We have to go through some specific points. Introduction, Delhi Sultanate, its ruling dynasties, histories of Delhi Sultans, expansion of Delhi Sultanate, administration under Delhi Sultans, Mongol threat, decline of Delhi Sultanate, and recapitulation. Delhi has served as the seat of power of the Indian rulers for about 900 years. It saw the rise and fall of many dynasties and empires, including the British Empire in India. Delhi first became a power center during the rule of Tomara dynasty in the first half of the 12th century. Thereafter, during the period of Delhi Sultanate, the Mughal rule and the British rule, the city continued to gain importance. The Delhi Sultanate refers to a kingdom that was based in Delhi. This dynasty existed for 320 years. Its rulers, called sultans, who belonged to five different dynasties of Turkish and Pashtun origin. As its zenith, the Delhi Sultanate covered most of the Indian subcontinent. The first Sultan of Delhi was Qutbuddin Aibak, who was the slave of Muhammad Ghori. It is also called Mamluk dynasty because the term Mamluk means owned. This dynasty was succeeded by four other dynasties: the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty, and the Lodi dynasty. We can gather the information about the Delhi Sultans from various sources such as inscriptions, coins, architecture, and written accounts of the time. The written accounts are called Tarikh or history. The plural of Tarikh is Tawarikh, meaning histories in English. The Tawarikh of the Delhi Sultans were written in Persian, the language of administration in the Delhi Sultanate. Their authors were learned men such as secretaries, administrators, poets, and country courtiers. Prominent among the authors or chroniclers of the time were Fakhr-e-Mudabbir, Minhaj-e-Shiraz, and Ziauddin Barani. The chroniclers narrated contemporary events, but the Tawarikh written by them might have been influenced by the following factors. The authors lived in cities, mainly in Delhi. They seldom lived in villages. Getting rewards from the sultans was a primary objective of writing the histories. The authors considered the social order based on birthright and gender distinctions and as ideal. They advised the sultans to preserve it. In their writings, the chroniclers often stressed the importance of just rule. This is evident from the concept of the circle of justice propounded by Fakhri Mudabir. He felt that the survival of kings, soldiers, and peasants was introduced and interconnected. He explained that a king cannot survive without soldiers and soldiers cannot live without salaries. Soldiers are paid salaries from the revenue collected from peasants, but peasants can pay revenue only when they are prosperous and happy. And a peasant's prosperity can be ensured only when the king promotes justice and good governance. So, in the continuity of the circle of justice, the king plays an important role. Now we have to go through the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate grew to cover a large part of Indian subcontinent. In the early period of Sultanate, the sultans only controlled fortified towns that served as garrisons. They had no control over the hinterland beyond the fortified towns, nor could they tax the peasants for revenue. They were dependent upon trade, tribute, or plunder. The sultans also found it difficult to control garrison towns located far away from Delhi. In Bengal and Sindh, their authority was challenged by their own governors. To arrest their authority, first Ghiyasuddin Balban and then Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq took steps to consolidate the Sultanate. Delhi Sultans first tried to expand Sultanate along its internal frontier. Campaigns were carried out to consolidate the hinterlands of the garrison towns to bring more areas under direct control of the sultans. Forests were cleared in the Ganga Yamuna Doab, and hunter gatherers and pastoralists were expelled from these forests. The second expansion of the Sultanate occurred along its external frontiers through military expeditions. Both Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq made conquest in southern India. The defeated kings paid large tributes to the sultans after accepting their suzerainty or the authority. Khalji conquered Gujarat and Malwa and captured the fronts and the forts of Ranthambore and Chittor in present day Rajasthan. His trusted general Malik Kafur defeated the Yadavas, Kakatiyas, Hoslias, and the Pandyas in the south. Now come to the administration under Delhi Sultanates. The early Delhi sultans had themselves risen to the position of authority after being brought as slaves for military services. So they favored appointing their own slaves as governors and generals. These slaves called Bandagan in Persian. Often the death of Sultan caused the political instability in the kingdom. Slaves and clients were loyal to the Sultan but not to his heirs. Consequently, the new Sultan brought his own slaves and clients into the administration. They had introduced the Ikta system. Through this, they had to collect the taxes from land, cattle, and houses by appointing the Muktis. Now come to the Mongol threat. With the rise of Genghis Khan in 1206 CE, the Mongol dynasty came into being. Soon the Mongols became the dominant military power in the world. They established a large empire comprising most of Asia and Eastern Europe. They used to plunder and completely destroy the conquered territories. The Delhi Sultanate started facing Mongol invasions soon after their leader Genghis Khan invaded Transoxiana in 1219. Transoxiana means the land beyond the Oxus River. It is an ancient name used to describe a part of Central Asia. For over 100 years, the Mongols repeatedly attacked the Delhi Sultanate. Their attacks increased during the reigns of two sultans, Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq. The two sultans took several initiatives to effectively face the Mongol challenge. Alauddin raised a large standing army in view of the threat of Mongol attack. He built a new fortified capital called Siri in Delhi. The garrison for soldiers was an integral part of Siri. He started branding horses to prevent substitution of good horses by inferior ones. A full description for each soldier was also kept. To provide food to the soldiers, 50% of the produce was collected as tax from the farmers in the Ganga Yamuna Doab. Alauddin paid cash salary instead of iktas to his soldiers. Since the soldiers bought their necessities by paying cash, there was the possibility of the merchants charging huge prices from them. To prevent the merchants from making huge profits, Alauddin regulated the prices of goods in Delhi. Now come to the decline of Delhi Sultanate. There was no definite law of succession. After the death of each sultan, the situation gave rise to many civil wars. The nobles become the kingmakers and control the weak sultans. Jagir system gave rise to disintegration, the weakened the kingdom. The invasion of Timur and Babur was the main cause for the decline of the Delhi Sultanate. These were the main reason for the decline of Delhi Sultanate. Now come to the recapitulation. The Delhi Sultanate is also known as Mamluk dynasty. It saw various rise and fall during 1206 to 1526. This dynasty was established by slaves. They were not very fond of administration. During their rule, the administration often gets collapsed. Afghans and Rajputs often had a great challenge to this dynasty. However, during their time, they could extend their reign mostly all through the India. Many of the cities were established by these rulers like Delhi, Kohana, Siri, Tughlaqabad, Jahanpana and Firozabad. Now this is all about the chapter. Now you can go through its exercise and question answers. Thanking you for being with me.